Hello, this is Kim Malinowski. I hope everyone is well. I'm trying to do like my first true reading of the new year. I had two different decks. I'm gonna split them up because they're just like so different. I got them on sale, which is always like both an awesome thing and a scary thing because you don't know what you're gonna get. I'm starting with, if you can see it, I'm facing the sun. The Beetlejuice deck. I thought it was fun, but the second I saw, it doesn't have a booklet. It has like a map. You can see it. And I was like, what is this new shade of hell? And I understand like you're supposed to already sort of know like what everything means, have a concept. But it's been a hot minute, so I wanted to like know like who am I showing when I have a face on one of these cards? And it's ridiculous. So I'm sorry to hear that, but but it was also kind of funny because like I'm like, well, of course, Beetlejuice, it would make you in hell. Um, but it is what it is. Okay. So I'm not going to know the names of these characters, and I am so sorry. So you guys are going to have to fill in the blanks for that one. All right. So this is, let me get this straight because, Roman numerals. All right. We have an inverted four of pentacles. All right. And I'll show it to you upright as well. And I'm pretty sure this is like ghosts looking at like the alive person, right? Um, and sort of like that deception because also like I've got very much a feeling of looking at yourself in like the future, and I felt like there's this judgment. Now that's not always what Four of Pentacles really means, but like that's definitely what I'm feeling with this card. It's like that idea of self-judgment, and at least like looking into the future and seeing like what the aging process is. Now, that doesn't have to be necessarily bad, but it is something that I think that we are all sort of like at the beginning of the year, sort of, it's like that introspection. What does the next year hold for us? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it craziness? Excuse me, my nose is running. I have the window down because like I got hot after drinking a chai, and like I said, I got very frustrated with this deck. All right. And then our next one is the Seven of Wands. Now, this is the construction or like the reconstruction of the house. So it was talking about how the difficulty that I was going through, as a process in the movie because like of the supernatural helpers, right? That it's really hard to go through this reconstruction. And it's sort of, I felt like, like once I read it, it was sort of like, well, sort of like what we're going through. We sort of like are constantly reconstructing ourselves and changing ourselves in some nature. Like I am never happy with myself. I am fully, fully own it. I'm too tired. I'm too manic. I'm too. And like, I don't actually have to be manic. It just means I'm excited about something. And I feel like too muchness, right? That's like a self-judgment based on other people, what I perceive them. Maybe they're not perceiving me that way. So as we try to like perfect ourselves or finish ourselves or rebuild ourselves, I think we have to remember who we're doing it for and to understand like where those judgments come from. If we legitimately need to change our life, still, I'm going through a process trying to become an archaeologist along with a poet. Sure, but like, why? It's sort of like, is it for us? Is it because other people would perceive us differently? Like, it's just like you don't, there's no right or wrong. You can, it's not like I'm like gonna say like, oh, don't work on yourself because that's somebody else's negative, but just know where it comes from. And then you can make a really good assessment for yourself. And you can know like levels. Like, do you just need the roof? Do you need the whole thing? Or do you need the whole skeleton of the house redone? Like so it just gives some perspective. All right. All right. I don't know her name. I'm so sorry. I don't know her name. All right. So this is an inverted Two of Cups. All right, and I'll show it to you upright. I don't think this is Lydia. I don't know. All right. So inverted two of cups. And like, of course, the two of cups is usually considered like this romantic sort of lovers almost energy, perfection of like a coupling. And like that can be, but it's also it's like with a relationship. That doesn't mean it has to be a relationship with another person. It can be with itself. So if we're talking about wanting to rebuild ourselves, which this seems to be like the reading that it's going towards, which I didn't understand that was going to go that way. Like if we're really looking for like that companionship within ourselves, this is inverted. So that means like something is out of balance. It's not that perfect union. And if we are talking about another partner, it's not as perfect as it could be. And I mean, like, obviously, we're never going to have perfect, but maybe communication needs to go on. Maybe you have to be like, you have unrealistic expectations of me. I have unrealistic expectations of you. And, like just something, a little bit of balance might need to occur. For, yeah, exactly. Exactly like that. For it to go to here. Okay. So, like, there is joy. I mean, she looks very joyous, does she not? But I think that even if it's with another, there's joy there, even inverted. It's just a matter of like finding perspective, I guess, and maybe focusing on what makes us so happy with that person. I know that I'm trying to like evaluate all of my relationships, not just one, not romantic, not anything of that nature, but like, just like, what is it that I value? You know, because all my friends are completely and totally different. And yet there must be something that connects me to them, that I'm like, you are, part of me. And it's not like a need. Like at first, like a lot of times it's like, oh, somebody needs me. They need something. And like I complete them, and that's not healthy. But a lot of times it's like, well, somehow we complete each other. We have some type of bond. Like, what is it? It's in one of those introspection sort of things again. Just knowing oneself. And like I said, this is like the time of year. It's cold outside. I have snow around me. Um, yeah, I never get snow either. I'm not in West Virginia right now. I'm in Maryland, and I'm like, I never get snow. And it's just like, archaeology's canceled. The lab is even canceled. I'm like, I have some time. So why am I complaining so much? Why can't I slow down? Why can't these are questions that we need to ask ourselves. All right, and we have the inverted six of wands. Okay, I'm gonna put it forward. Now it was discussing sort of like studying and like reading and like again, sort of like this introspection. And like I do definitely feel like there's something of a blockage between us and like that knowledge of self, you know? If that book was about us, what would it say? And we would be happy to read it. Sometimes I am, and sometimes I'm not. It depends on how full of myself I am. I admit very, very much and very candidly that I have a lot of pride. And my friends say that my pride will kill me. And that is why I am like Alexander Hamilton. I am prideful. I would duel if I had to over honor. It's like that. Okay. Our final card is Queen of Swords. Yes, I'm sure you actually know who this person is. But it is like this overall feeling of having herself completely together. And like these energies do not have to be female, male, and certainly not in this deck. I don't feel that at all. Okay. And like we didn't get any major arcana, which is good because like I can't figure out that. If you have to give me a booklet, give me a booklet, not a map. I don't even know if I can fold it back. So, so there is like a self-confident. I can take care of myself. I know myself. So through this process of like this introspection, we can, get to know ourselves. And this is like every so often we need to check in. It doesn't have to be every day. But every so often, once a year, once every 2 years, just like Who am I now? Have I changed? And some people will do it like every day. I am not one of those people. Not. Uh, Perhaps I should be, but I'm not. Usually I stick to like once or twice a year where I'm like, I'll do a deep dive into self. 5 poems occur, and then I'm like, all right, well, too much. But it does lead to like a satisfaction of knowing ourselves. I mean, it is a process, but then that means like if we know ourselves, we're gonna find it. We don't have to do that much major construction and certainly not reconstruct ourselves unless it's needed. And then we can figure out very quickly if it's somebody else imposing their standards on us and we're judging ourselves based on that. I did that all of last year and I had no idea until I had a fight. And I was like, and it's something that we need to just be aware of. You know, where do we get our ideas of self? Are we really too much? Are we just too much for, one person who has their own problems and they just can't handle us? Now, the answer can be both, obviously. I mean, like, I can be muchness, but sometimes people like my muchness. Some people need a break from muchness. And as long as we go back and forth within ourselves and we're like, okay, well, I was much, then we know, right? It doesn't mean we have to like apologize to ourselves. We might be like, I will give you a week-long break, okay? And the other person will be like, okay, because they're going through stuff too. We all are. And all of us can overwhelm each other. But like what we can't like find ourselves with, we can't just like reinvent ourselves because somebody else tells us to. They can give us like the permission that we need, like my friend, um, I I was stuck. I admit that I was stuck. I didn't know where I wanted to go. It was right at the tail end of the pandemic, and I wasn't bored with writing, but like writing wasn't enough. And he knew that I always talk about archaeology for the entire time I knew him. And like we've now known each other for like 22 years. So it's been a while. I did archaeology in undergrad, like just classes, majoring. And so he was like, you need to do this. And for whatever reason, that sort of gave me the permission, like, well, if he says I should do this, well, I can like dapple. I can at least email because like there's fear. There's fear there, like between just like sending that initial email, you know, saying, just can I volunteer at the lab? Like it was such a big fear. What are they gonna say? No. Um, but still, based on my prior history with archaeology in Maryland and how I didn't always, we'll say, get along with the archaeologists, I was just like, mm. But that permission that you should really do that.